Right through here. Okay. Hello. Okay. Okay. Hi. How's it going? Good. Well, how about you? Good. Of course. Whatever makes you happy.
So are we the winners or losers?
Yeah. Well, that'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Well, I'm a winner, so there's your answer.
All right, there you go.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty nice afternoon job if you could do this once a day, huh?
Right. Once a day.
Wouldn't that be nice?
I wonder if they do them every day.
I don't know. I think you can only do so many a year or something.
Really?
I think so. So what? Yeah.
Hello.
people might
Well,
like
they
that.
send you a survey every other day. Does anyone get
Yeah.
surveys all?
I get a good many of them.
Yeah,
But I
I
don't
get at least a good 2 or 3 a week.
I haven't been paid for one for a long time.
You've done this
There you go,
before?
right there.
I have, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not.
All right, well, thank you all for making time to come in and talk with me this evening. I appreciate it. My name is Brian. I work for a company called Mosaic Group. It's an independent research company. The reason I'm telling you that, the reason I think you should care, I hope that you care, is it's important you know that I do not work for the company or companies that are sponsoring this discussion. I've just been asked to come in here and talk with you, learn from you, get your honest thoughts, your honest opinions. Whether you tell me positive things or negative things, it has no impact on me personally whatsoever. Couple things about this room that I'm required to tell you before we get started. Where are they hiding? Oh, there they are. See those little white dots up there in the ceiling? Those white dots are microphones. The mirror behind me is what's called a one-way mirror. There are people sitting back behind that glass. There's also a video camera back there. I am audio and video recording our discussion. You'll notice that I don't take notes while we talk. I do go back later and re-listen to what we've talked about to just kind of remind me of everything we've chatted about. Sound good? All right. Before we get started, I was hoping that each of you would take a brief moment to introduce yourself to me as well as to each other. A couple things I'd love to know. Most importantly, I know they gave y'all a name tag when you checked in. If there's a name other than what's in that name tag that you prefer to be called, let me know that. I'll certainly do my best. If you wouldn't mind telling me a little bit about your household. So unless you live alone, who else lives in the house with you? If there are any kids in the house, I'd love to know the age or ages of the kids. And then lastly, if you wouldn't mind telling me a little bit about what you do for a living. You wanna start?
Sure, Maria Solis. I have a 18-year-old and a 13-year-old. I'm a civil engineer, and that's it. Was that everything?
Yeah, so you and two kids, civil engineer.
Correct.
Perfect, well, welcome, appreciate it.
Thanks.
Arlene Cotton, I work for Nationwide Insurance Company. I have a 22-year-old who lives at home part-time. He goes to school in San Francisco. And then I have this guy that I like every other month, so sometimes he lives there, sometimes he doesn't.
And what do you do for Nationwide?
Insurance underwriter.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect, well, welcome, appreciate it.
I'm Lois, and I live in Hoboken, Marin, and own and operate martial arts schools.
Okay, very cool.
I'm Lucy. I have a 12-year-old daughter, and I recently retired and just been working here and there part-time.
I'm Bryn. I work for CNS Wholesale Grocers as a perishable buyer. And I live by myself with 4 cats and a dog.
Okay, perfect.
I'm Isaac. I live by myself. I have 3 dogs. So they're my fur babies. I'm a surgical tech at Sutter Hospital.
Great. Last but not least,
Hi, I'm Angelica. I have a 16-year-old, a 14-year-old, and a 7-year-old. Married, and I work for Department of Motor Vehicles Human Resources.
okay, perfect. Well, again, welcome. I really appreciate you all coming in, so thank you in advance for your time. You probably have a pretty good idea of what we'll be talking about based on all those questions we asked you over the phone. But the reason that we invited you here is because while we were talking to you on the phone, you indicated that you are involved in making decisions related to financial services in your household. And some of the decisions that we were specifically looking for were, you mentioned that you're responsible for making decisions around paying bills, you're responsible for making decisions around managing budgets, about managing debt. as well as finding kind of related solutions and services, financial related services for your family. And so that's why you're here, that's what we're gonna talk about. And then the one other thing that you all have in common, and the other reason why you're here, is that you are all current customers of Freedom Financial. And so you all are either a customer of Freedom Debt Relief or Freedom Consolidation Plus or Freedom Plus. And so that's why you're here, that's what we're gonna be talking about. And as you know, we asked you a ton of questions. You were probably thinking like, wow, some of these questions are kind of personal. And the reason we were doing that is so we could assemble a group of you who are all in kind of about the same financial situation so that we could all talk about it and kind of all have similar, at least be in a similar situation. Sound good?
No.
All right. So I'd love to start out and just kind of hear from I wanna hear in your own words. How do you or how would you describe your current financial situation?
On the uprise,
On the uprise?
Yeah.
Okay, tell me more about that.
Freedom Debt Relief, helped me pay off a lot of my accounts. I got pulled onto Consolidation Plus, so, I mean, it's nothing but credit growth and paying off my loan now.
Yeah, okay. So you feel like you're on the uprise.
Mhm.
Awesome. Others?
I would have to say the same. I should have everything with Freedom, with debt relief paid off by, I think, June. And then I have a Wells Fargo loan that will be paid off by December. So by December, I should be totally debt-free.
Okay.
Yeah, same story. Mine will be done in 2020. So like another year and a half, I do believe. Yeah,
Okay.
and I'll be
And so how,
better.
in your own words, how do you describe your financial situation?
Better. My financial situation got better because I got another job. I've been at Nationwide for 2 years, so I started the Freedom Debt Relief Program before that. And then I was gonna get laid off, but then I found a job before that, so,
Gotcha. Okay.
yeah. So I had already consolidated everything in July, and then I got another job in September.
That's great.
So, yeah, so I'll be rich in a couple of years.
Others, I really just wanna hear kind of in your own words, your own language, how you describe your financial situation.
Stable.
Okay. Tell me more about that. What is that?
I just got into the Freedom Consolidation, so everything's just kind of starting, but it's on, everything's paid off, but I'm kind of stable and building up my credit and my financial situation.
Okay. Yeah. Any other words that you'd use, any of you?
Completely changed professions, from where I was before. I was in the dental field and went into human resources, and it helped me kind of take a hold of my financial situation and just kind of hone down on what it was that I was missing or doing too much over here and not enough over here. I ended up getting my credit right and just purchased a new home.
Oh, that's great. Okay.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
So, you kind of told me how you describe your financial situation, or your current financial situation, whether it's on the uprise, whether it's stable, whether it's changing, whatever, all these words that you were using to describe it. Now I'm curious to understand, how do you feel about your current financial situation?
I would prefer to have more expendable income.
Uh-huh.
I feel good about the fact that I'm gonna be debt-free by the end of the year, so I feel good about that. I do not feel good about where I am in savings compared to where I am in age. I'd rather, I'd like to have more money in savings and things than I have. So I don't feel great about the prospect of, the future in there. I mean, I feel good that I'm gonna be out of debt, and I'm gonna be able to start saving more, but I would like to have a far bigger jump on it than I do now.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the same with me. I kind of feel, even though I'm retired, by some mysterious reason, I guess, I'm better off financially, than when I was working. But then when I was working, I was only working half-time. So, for like 10 years. So I'm retired, so I'm looking at, I get my retirement income, and my bills are definitely down. Freedom didn't really do much for me, but they did help me in at least realizing my debt, and they ended up helping me with one bill. But what it did was, it did give me a discipline to build up a savings account, and it also, you know, took away a lot of that one bill that I had.
Okay.
So I feel like I could really use some more like direction. I don't feel that secure being that we have a crazy president, and worldwide economics aren't that good right now, aren't that stable. And so I'm debating whether or not to remove my 401 and just put it into I'm just really confused with a lot of things, the way everything is not very stable right now in the country or in other countries, so it kind of makes me nervous.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other feelings?
Actually, the reason for my switching professions was to get into a position where I would ensure a retirement. Just kind of working for smaller businesses, you don't necessarily are not guaranteed that retirement, and that's where I'm at right now with my age and with looking forward to my future. I want to make sure that my family's taken care of when I do retire, so.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel a little nervous too, like, I'm not ready to retire anytime soon yet, but the way the economy is going, I am more concerned with investing more money, so that's what I'm trying to figure out, you know, which would be a good way to go.
Mm-hmm.
As far as investments are concerned, you know, I hear about cannabis all the time, but I'm afraid of the scammers out there, you know, I don't care how much money it is, I'm really cheap. So, you know, I don't wanna put my money out there and then lose it, no matter how much it is, you know, so. But that's where I'm at, trying to, cause I know by the time I retire, you know, the cost of living is just gonna be, I can't even imagine how much money I need for retirement. One day you'll read something and it says one thing, but you can't really predict it. That's not really, you know.
Right. So I want y'all to kind of continue to think about your financial situation now, your financial situation in the last couple years or so. I'm curious to understand, based on what you know now, what if anything do you really wish you had known, say, 10 years or so ago, when it comes to finances and money
How
management,
to
that sort of
maintain
thing?
credit.
What's that?
How to maintain
How to
and grow
what do you mean
credit.
maintain?
I wanna say when I was younger, that wasn't really implemented, keep out of debt, don't get into getting, signing up for a bunch of credit cards, or this is how you manage your credit,
Mm-hmm.
more financial knowledge, I guess I would say,
Okay,
at a younger age.
sure. Others, anything you wish you would have known a while back?
That student loans suck.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And would you have done something differently?
Absolutely. I would have looked at different schools, I would have looked at different career paths. And long-term outrate, like, everybody's forced everybody wants you to have a bachelor's degree, but nobody tells you if you get a bachelor's degree in business, you're gonna be an assistant manager somewhere, and you've gotta work your way up, but you acquire all this debt. So like, I think, for me, like, looking back, if I hadn't finished my bachelor's degree and I just stayed with my trade school, I would have been about $70,000 less in debt and not paying that out for a 30-year term to student loans. And they don't really tell you that up front. They just go, oh, well, you qualify for all this free money. And then they go, well, 6 months after you graduate, you go, I don't have a job I can't pay $500 on top of rent, on top of everything else. I'm not living in the dorms anymore. And it's like, do you go back to school and acquire more debt to do it? Or I think that was the one thing that, like, if I could go back 10 years or 20 years and kick myself and say, don't go down that. There's other avenues.
Okay, yeah. Anything else that you would have done differently or you wish you would have known a while back?
Investments.
What about them?
I wish I would have known more about investing and would have started investing sooner. Put more money in my 401k and, find some stocks or something to invest in, and probably listen to Dave Ramsey and the things that he talks about, the saving and the way you pay off your debt. I wish I would have done that, because I had way more money to be able to do it.
So tell me, how, if at all, were y'all ever taught about money management?
My parents instilled in me savings from a very young age. Every time family would send me money, they made sure some of that went to savings, whether I liked it or not. Maybe in a way that didn't help me so much as, you know, they made sure it's like direct deposit. I didn't have to make the decision to save myself, and so I feel like it's harder now. It could have been beneficial, but my state of mind obviously was not there. That's money being taken from me, you know? So anytime I do have money, you know, you want to spend it.
Yeah. Others, how, if at all, did you learn about money management?
Basically self-taught.
Okay.
I didn't have anyone really sit down and say, you need to do this and this and this, and this will help you get from point A to point B and things like that. You know, you think, okay, I'd like to invest in the stock market, so you start reading it, you know, reading up on it. I started a small investment group and,
Are you
you know,
rich?
things like that.
In your investment group, are you guys rich?
No. It's very small investment, and we did land banking where you're buying land and you're waiting till the land gets bought. It's in like, takes a lot of years for land to get bought up. If it ever does, if they ever build the bullet train, our land is sitting directly on where they have to go through. And they would have to purchase our land. And we, you know, and it was a small investment, like $25 to $50 a month. So, you know, we have probably each 3 or 4, you know, well, not 3 or 4 unless we count the land, but it's a couple of thousand in it, but.
But
No,
you, self-taught is the answer,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Others, any other ways in which you learned about money management?
I'm gonna dig out of a hole. When I decided that I wanted to purchase a home, that is what directed my attention to what I had been doing wrong and all of the things I needed to do in order to get or attain that goal, and it's helped me kind of push that on my teenagers. You know, you wanna have a savings, you wanna make sure that when you are making financial decisions, it's a long-term goal.
Yeah.
I think mine was like when I hit rock bottom and needed to get dug out by somebody, and they sat down and worked with you and explained, you know, you have to spend this much and you need to put this much here and you need to do this, and then it was like, oh, well, if I had known this 5 years ago, I wouldn't be in the situation I am now. And I think that's when I really, like, growing up, my parents, my dad had his own business, so, you know, money was in and out because it was a contracting business, so like you never knew what was with the business or what was with personal, because it was just spent. So it was growing up, whenever I had money, it was like, oh, you just go spend money. And then, you know, credit cards came and it was like free money, and you hit the bottom and you go, oh shoot, I can't afford these things. And then like with Freedom Financial, they work with you and kind of explain, you know, hey, you gotta do this and this and this, and then it was like, oh, well, why didn't anybody ever tell me that 10 years ago, 20 years ago?
You mentioned you didn't really figure it out until you hit rock bottom. Tell me more about rock bottom.
For me, it was just not being able to do what I wanted to do. You know, like all my money was, I was working 2 jobs, 80 hours a week, and all my money was going to bills. And I saw friends going out and partying and on vacations and having a good time. I'm going, I could go if I had money. And that was kind of rock bottom, was going, well, I'm stuck at work for
$12.
yeah, Monday through Sunday, and all I'm doing is paying bills, and it's just paying interest off. You know, barely eking by, and you're not eating like you want to eat. And
Gotcha. Okay. So I mentioned one of the reasons that you're all here is because you're all Freedom customers. Some of you are current Freedom Debt Relief customers. Some of you are Freedom Consolidation Plus. But you're all Freedom customers. I know we had you fill out that little questionnaire in the lobby. One of the questions asked how long you've been a customer. I flipped through those before you all came in. I think the shortest one of you has only been a customer for about 10 months, and then I think one of you, the longest, was been like 2.5 years. So you're all within like 10 months to 2.5 years. What I would like for you to do is, as best you can, let's go back in time to that period of time right before you decided to become a customer or a client of Freedom. Talk to me about what was going on.
When I started, I didn't know what the program was about, but I remember feeling deeply overwhelmed, like what you said, you know. My financial craziness happened, through my own, ignorance on my husband's, business and what he was doing, and just, you know, ignorance is bliss, so they say. And so I had to realize, you know, after the divorce, I had to realize, oh, okay, this much is going for rent. Well, I can't rent because the rents keep soaring and they're not gonna go anywhere, so I'm gonna have to buy. Well, in order to buy a house, of course, your credit score, which because of the divorce, mine used to be really high, but I didn't realize all those years I was making my credit score higher and higher for him to invest. So I learned, about, you know, I really became concerned, and I remember at that time I was really overwhelmed. And so that's what, I felt, just like, okay, and that's like freedom.
So right before joining, you were feeling overwhelmed.
Very.
Tell me more about overwhelmed.
Just like, you know, having to manage everything myself, whereas when I was married, you know, I didn't really pay, I mean, I paid for like family vacations and, a few bills here and there, managed my own credit card bills for the family, bought all the groceries, but I didn't really deal with, you know, buying houses and moving, and I didn't really notice like, oh, this equities, I knew about equities being flipped in to buy this, and just didn't really pay too much attention, just kind of
Okay.
trusted his career versus mine. You know, I worked in IT for many years, like 27 years, so.
Others, take me back to right before you joined. Tell me kind of what was going on, what were you feeling?
Very insecure. My boyfriend currently has amazing credit and a savings and doesn't have the same kind of trigger pulling, spontaneous shopping that I had, and you know, I've always been self-conscious and concerned that my debt would be a problem for him if we were to ever, you know, get married and stuff. Like, there's fear there. So I mean, I've always wanted to be debt free, once I realized my problem for myself, but also, you know, because I want him to see that I can do it and that I've learned something, you know, so.
Okay.
A lot of insecurity and a lot of pressure on myself, and, you know, I didn't feel good about it, making bad decisions like that.
You're
Perfect.
still young, you're okay.
And sometimes, you know, they're not even bad decisions, they're just tough decisions. I mean, I know it sounds crazy, but I ended up going into them because we had a dog that got cancer and we put $20,000 into the dog to try to save it. And everything else was like, whatever.
Here comes the family. I had $47,000 in legal debt that Freedom could not help me with from custody battle with my kids, over my kids. And so, I was overwhelmed because that cannot be fixed by anything else except them now suing me after they were my lawyer if I don't pay them. So, I had some credit card debt, but actually wasn't that much, but it was hard to manage paying off that debt plus my credit cards at the time, so I was overwhelmed. And I didn't answer some of the earlier questions, but I learned my, how to manage my finances on my own too. I've been on my own since I was 16, put myself through college, paid it on along the way, undergrad and master's. So I actually never had any issues with managing my money until it came to my divorce and my custody battle over my kids. Things just, when it comes to just like your dog, I mean, I feel like my dog's my kid too, but I mean, when it comes to your family, I mean, it didn't matter if I, you know, I wasn't thinking about what's gonna happen after all this money spent and how I'm gonna pay for it. It was all about the kids, and then everything just went to hell. I mean, I won the case, thank God, but, it was, you know, it's that, you're in this emotional piece, trying to help manage and you're single and trying to help manage the financial piece. It's really difficult to keep an eye on both. You know, one's gonna take priority, and my kid's a priority.
Understandable, yeah.
Yeah, because you're choosing either do I pay credit cards, do I buy $500 worth of meds?
Yeah.
Anything else that was kind of going on right before joining you decided to join Freedom?
Yeah, I was preparing because I was calculating how much my mortgage would be, and then I have all these credit cards that I wasn't gonna be able to pay because I was basing that on my unemployment check. So after we did the consolidation and they told me how much my monthly payment was going to be, it was way less than, you know, what I was paying on my cards. So for me, the decision was super simple: consolidate everything and then have one card, and that's it. So that was my plan
Sure.
going forward.
So, okay, so this is, again, remember, I'm just here to learn, right? So this is great, so I'm hearing loud and clear, a lot of you were feeling, before joining, a lot of you were feeling overwhelmed, you put some pressure on yourself, kind of just feel like you hit rock bottom. I'm curious to understand, what was so you, obviously you'd had these feelings, I can only imagine that they didn't just happen overnight, right? You probably had them for a little while. What was the spark, or what was the trigger that made you finally decide to pick up the phone and call Freedom, or to go to the Freedom? What was the trigger that finally made you reach out to Freedom?
I realized it was possible.
Help me
I
understand that.
I heard about it, that, you know, you hear about bankruptcy. My stepmom filed for bankruptcy, and I was like, that can never be a thing for me, because that stays on your report for a very long time.
Uh-huh.
I didn't realize that there were programs where they'll help you pay off your accounts for a portion, and then I didn't even know that existed. And I think I was literally Googling like ways to get help somehow, you know, and it popped up. So that was pretty much.
That was the trigger,
I was
you
like,
just, okay,
let's do it.
okay.
I think the trigger for me, I got tired of the phone calls from everybody I owed money to. I wanted them to stop. Wanted to be able to answer the phone and not worry about it.
Sure, okay.
Bill collectors.
I didn't have any late payments, actually. It was the person who called me. He was an excellent salesman, I have to tell you. He doesn't work he works for Freedom Debt Relief, but he's not. After he was done selling me the product, he went away, and then I worked with the Freedom Debt Relief people directly. But he was a fast talker. He talked me into it, he really did, and I wasn't, I have to, he, you know, he didn't explain all the facts to me, but enough to get me hooked in, and, so it was really, whoever that, I mean, I know his name still, but whoever you hired to make the phone call.
Remember, I don't work for Freedom,
Yeah,
so,
whoever they
okay.
hired to make the phone call, they called me, I tell you, he was a sweet talker, and he talked me into it, so.
Okay. Any other kind of triggers that made you finally decide, okay, today's the day I'm gonna call Freedom?
You just want things to change, and so to do that, you've gotta get a grip on your finances, so you reach a point where, you know, if, you know, the definition of insanity, doing the same thing and expecting a different result, so you have to do something different. And, you know, they had great reviews, they're one of the #1 companies to actually, you know, on Yelp and things like that, and so it's like, just call them.
I find that interesting, because I saw a lot of really negative reviews about them. I mean, that's all there ever is when you review a place, to review their outstanding reviews or really, really bad experiences. And so I actually spent a lot more time being concerned that it was a scam, actually, because I don't know why I insist on reading the negative reviews, but you want to know what you're getting yourself into. I'm already in a ton of poop, you know, like I don't want to make it worse. So, you know, I read there's equal amounts of negative reviews, I feel like, and so it scared me there for a little bit. But I ended up pulling the trigger anyway, because you know, people give their reasoning as to why it was a bad experience, and normally you can pick out like their attitude on it and what they were kind of doing wrong.
Did any of you look into a company other than Freedom that does something similar?
Yeah, I really got scammed bad. I got scammed with a mortgage company when the housing was it 2008 or whatever? I don't even remember if it was, I think it was a mortgage company. And they were like, well, you pay me this, and then I work for the company, and then you don't pay your blah, 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 and then, you know, you don't pay this, or you do, you know, I don't know what, but anyhow, I got scammed. And then I think I went for bankruptcy, And then for bankruptcy, I swear the guy told me, do not pay your, homeowners association, which I had no knowledge of homeowners association laws. They're way different, they're protected by this umbrella legally, and they can go and get garnished wages from you.
They can put a lien on the house too.
Yeah, all that,
Which is what they
so then anyhow, I got scammed by a company, and it wasn't Freedom Debt, it was somebody else,
Okay. So you initially started with someone else?
yeah.
Okay.
And so-
Did anyone else look into any other
I-
similar companies to Freedom?
I did, but I don't remember the company.
Yeah, I don't remember either.
I think I just went by the monthly payments, but like she said, the guy that I spoke to on the phone, I think I saw mine. I wanna say it was a commercial, I can't remember. I think it was a commercial?
I
You
think
guys
that's,
see it was
that's
a
what,
commercial?
that's
I think it was
what,
a
that's what I saw
commercial.
mine from, was a commercial on TV.
Mine was a
Yeah.
mail, I just got a mailer, and then
Yeah, I
phone
didn't
call.
get a mail, I think it was a commercial, and, I called someone before them, and then when I spoke to Freedom, the process, and the guy that was, giving me all the information, he seemed a lot more knowledgeable, and, you know, it didn't sound like a scam.
Right.
You know, and then the monthly payments and everything, the way he broke it down, and then he sent me all the information, and I looked them up too, but when I looked it up, I saw some good reviews, and, you know, you can't really tell with the reviews, because you don't know,
There's
you know.
whole situation.
Right, exactly, so, but I said I'd give it a try, and then it wasn't, you know, it didn't sound, like it was, you know, it didn't really sound like a scam, the way he described it to me and, you know, told me exactly how it works, so. The only one that I wasn't interested in is that accelerated program that they talk about.
Consolidation Plus.
Yeah, is that what it is, the consolidation, you're with Freedom Debt Relief?
Mhm.
Okay, and then they do the consolidation plus, but they wanna know how much you have in your 401k and all your bank, is just too much information, so that one I was kinda like, I'll just stick with this one, it's working out pretty well, so, but, yeah.
So Isaac, you mentioned you saw a commercial.
Yeah.
What was it about the commercial that made you decide to call?
I was just at that rock bottom point, and I was, Googling, late night Googling bankruptcy and debt, debt relief, like, what can I find for like free counseling locally? Cause I know there's always there's free housing help, there's free debt help, but I just, it popped up and I was like, well, I'll pull them up on the computer, and I'm sitting there with my laptop, eating Cheetos at midnight going, I'm so screwed right now. And it came up and I was like, oh, it kinda looks good, and I put my information in and they called, and, I had a friend look over everything when they handed it, when they emailed it over, and I said, do you think it's a scam? Like, cause you never really know, like, late night commercials, it's, like, oh, go buy the Wonder whatever, and you're like, you get it, and it's this thing made in China, it's just a piece of crap.
It's so too good to be true. For
Yeah, so it was just kind of that moment, and it was, I looked at it and said, what's, worst case scenario is I file for bankruptcy and then I'm really screwed, and I just owe another company some more money, so why not?
Yeah, and I just looked at the, when I was Googling it also, and it come up as one of, the top ones in the top 5, and I'm like, I'll take it.
So when you, again, I think the shortest period of time for one of you is 10 months, the longest is about 2.5 years, so you're all somewhere in that period of time. When you think about your total experience being a Freedom customer, what if anything has been better than you expected?
How quickly. I've seen my debt go down and how quickly my credit has gone up since doing the loan.
Okay,
Like,
so just
I'm
how quickly
surprised.
it's happening.
I'm shocked. Like, I know that with interest, and had I been, cause I was fine on my payments, like that wasn't,
Yeah.
the issue, except for not having like extra expenses, I still was making payments and that, but, when you look at your interest percentages and all of that, you're gonna be paying that for like the rest of your life. Whereas this is made, it's 2022, I should be good. Like, that's crazy to me.
Mine was similar, like, I really enjoyed the fact that they had, after so much of being on the Freedom Debt Relief, after a while, they said, hey, you've been doing really good with these payments. We have this other program. And then the way they explained it and did everything, it was, like, they will pay off this, and then you take, on your credit, it's a fixed loan, and you're just, instead of paying the debt portion, I'm paying the consolidated portion, and my credit score went from like 480 to like, I think I'm at like 615 or 620 now, and I've only been on the program for 3 months. So it was like, I really loved the fact that, I went from being 6-7 months late on payments to all of a sudden my credit's not perfect, but I'm in the C range of A through F, and it's building back up, and I'm able to, my credit score looks great because I've got this fixed loan that's just automatically coming out, and they call and check to make sure everything's okay. Like, I feel really supported by them, and not just like, oh, we took your money and we gave you a loan and we're just gonna leave you alone now.
Anything else anyone else have an experience that turned out to be better than you expected?
I think the negotiation amounts.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Like what they were able to settle it for?
Right,
Yes.
what they were able to settle it for.
It was lower than
yes.
you thought it would be?
Way lower, like some of the, cards that I had, the amount that they settled for is like less than half of, what I owed, so, yeah.
Okay. How about were you gonna say something or?
No,
Okay.
I have nothing better to say.
How about on the flip side? Has there been anything about your experience that turned out to be worse than you were expecting?
Yes. They put one of my business bills on there and got the account number mixed up with one of my personal bills. So I get this letter in the mail, you need to go to court, we're suing you, da 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 da. And it's like, what's going on? They said, oh, well, we don't know. And they had mixed account numbers up on something. But they fixed it.
Oh,
I
okay.
didn't have to go to court, they fixed it, negotiated it down. So it ended up being good, but it was like, whoa, for a
Little bit of
while
a scare.
there. Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
That's what they did to me too, which I was kind of perturbed. They took from the wrong bank. I told the guy, I think it was like an income tax check or something, I said, I'm gonna take this money and put it in this account, because one of my bills was from, I have two banks still. And one of the bills that I owed was from Golden One. So I said, after I deposit it, you can take the money out of, schools. And then they got it mixed up, and it just made, it made Golden One not wanna negotiate with them, because they see all this money. They put the money, I don't know what they did, but they messed up by getting the account numbers wrong, and I said, I told you. So that was all wrong. And then I really didn't get a full explanation on how something worked. So like I was paying, which it brought my debt down anyhow. Like I said, they helped me to get disciplined. I was paying on this credit card, and I didn't know that you're not supposed to be paying on the credit card while they're negotiating, and I thought they told me they weren't gonna negotiate on it. But anyhow, it didn't harm me, except it just delayed the negotiation.
So again, you're all Freedom customers. I'm curious, are there any other products or services you'd like to see Freedom offer? Is there any other kind of customer relationship you'd like to have with Freedom?
I wouldn't mind seeing a student loan consolidation, because like my student loans, I have federal student loans, I have a bunch of different private student loans, so I'm paying like 4 different companies right now on my student loans. And it would be nice to, if they can consolidate all my credit cards, if they could consolidate my student loans into one payment, and it would be easier, like for somebody like me that has student loan debt, because you can't write off student loan debt, you can't negotiate on it, you can't do, it's like ironclad, there's no way, like, you don't pay it, they're garnishing your wages and the whole thing. But if they had like a way to consolidate my student loans into one payment, it would be easier in my life to be able to say, look, instead of trying to remember what's due when and having 4 or 5
Just have
different
one
spots,
payment.
just have one payment. And like sometimes you have to have the student loans, but it'd be nice to be able to have one company that could say, look, like you've been doing really good here, we also know that you have student loans, because you have to list out, all your finances. like, would you be interested in this product? And, you know, since you've been good with us now, like, we could take your student loans, consolidate it at a lower interest rate than what, and I've got one student loan, it's a private loan for like 12 grand, I think it's like 27% interest. And that's a student loan,
Yeah.
you know, but it would be nice to be able to consolidate it all, and even if it was 9% or 10% interest, like, at least it's going to one spot, instead of just, you know, trying to remember, okay, on the 12th I gotta pay this company, the 15th I gotta pay this company, and then you get your paycheck twice a week, or every other week, and you're going, okay, I need to be watching the money, and then you're sitting writing it, you know.
Yeah.
I think that would be a nice
Okay.
product.
I think that's a legal thing, right? That's a federal, there's some reason why they can't do that. I don't think anybody can, but I think you can probably, can't you call whoever your loan is through to try to,
Well, so I
So, yeah, sorry, I wanna make sure we stay on. Anyone else have any other ideas for other types of product
Oh,
services?
sorry.
No, it's fine, don't be sorry. I just wanna make sure we cover everything and so you can get out of here on time. Anyone else have any other products or services that you'd like to see Freedom offer you?
Yeah, I think they should or could offer, more advice on your credit score. Cause like I entered, my credit score was like 710, I hadn't missed any payments yet, and when I kept trying to understand how it was gonna affect my credit, I never got a straight answer, and they didn't explain to me that they were gonna have me not pay payments for 10 months before they started negotiating, and let my credit just go to hell before they even negotiated anything. And so I would have liked to have understood that better. I didn't understand that in the beginning, and then after I started figuring that out and started trying to call to ask more questions about it, nobody will ever answer any questions about it. And I understand that everybody's credit rating is gonna be different, but there are some things they do know that are pretty obvious that it would be nice for them to share that information. And I did not have the same experience as some of you. They did not negotiate mine very low at all. And because I missed all those payments, they added some penalties and interest. So then when they negotiated, they were negotiating sometimes, you know, on an amount that ended up being maybe 40 to 50% higher because of those late fees. So then compared to what I originally owed, they only saved me a few $100s after they negotiated and I paid them their fees. And it was a joke, and I was, really upset about it, so I didn't have the same experience where they negotiated down like so low, like I was told when I had the sales call, between 0 and 25 to 35% is where they would negotiate. So I think understanding better what's gonna happen to your credit score, they do a really good job of trying to sell you that loan and saying how fast it will recover if you get the loan, but the loan I was offered was at 16 to 22% or something like that. If I add that percentage on top of their negotiated amount on top of the fee, now I'm paying back more than what I owed originally if I got that loan to do that. So I just, for people who haven't missed a bunch of payments yet, I think it's very important to explain what they're
Sure.
gonna do to your credit. But
Any other products or services that you would like to see Freedom offer you?
I think Freedom should give like little classes or little explanation on to, for example, right now I'm contemplating getting a master's. I talk to people, I paid my education as I went along. So, you know, I think I only owe like 1,000. But for the master's, I heard somebody was telling me, this coworker was telling me he has 70,000 in debt. Well, there's certain occupations, like me, I was working for the state, I was working for the legislature and for DMV for so many years. Those are considered public service agencies. If you work for public service, you serve the public for so many years, you're offered a lot of your loan debt to be paid off. Well, I never incurred loan. I didn't borrow it, I paid it off as I went along, even if I had to charge it. And I thought, well, that would be really good to know if Freedom would give you, since it is, you know, teaching you about your finances and everything, that they would teach you like which, for example, the teaching program. They have a lot of teaching programs in various counties in California where they'll help you buy a house, or they will write off your debt because you were teaching and they need teachers in a certain area.
Right.
So that would be really awesome.
classes
So-
is a good idea. I think, I'm not sure, do they send you an updated credit score whenever your credit score change or
They
every
keep that
month?
credit score hidden.
I have Credit Karma, like on my
You
phone that
can,
emails
Credit
me.
Karma's free, that's another.
Yeah. Yeah, but you know how your banks do it, like, you know, your bank says every month, if your credit score changes, they notify you, that would probably be something, especially if we pay off a certain card or, you know, you pay off some debt, if it changes, then that would be, that would be helpful, yeah.
Here's what we're gonna do. I've got, so freedom is, so what we're talking about from this point forward is all hypothetical. It's all a maybe. So what we're gonna be talking about from this point forward, it might happen, it might not, I have no idea. But I can tell you that freedom is thinking about, let's say, spreading their wings a little bit. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you a hypothetical description of what freedom might be in the future. And so the description of freedom, a potential kind of freedom in the future, or kind of an updated freedom, it's 3 pages. The first page is gonna talk to you a little bit about the types of customers that freedom would serve. The second page talks about the types of products, services, and solutions that freedom offers. And the third page will tell you a little bit about kind of what makes freedom freedom. We'll take a look at these one at a time. I'm gonna pass them out to you. I'm gonna ask that you read them. As you're reading them, please do so with your pen in hand. I want you to circle the words and phrases that you find appealing. Cross out words and phrases that are not appealing. If there's anything you don't if there's anything you don't understand or anything you feel like you need more information, just put a question mark next to it. And then when y'all are done, we'll talk about it. This is trash.
Tell the directions again, cross out.
Read it, circle what you like, cross out what you don't. Alright, so this first page, talk to me, what do we, kind of overall, what do we think? And then specifically, what, if anything, kind of popped as either a positive or a negative?
I thought all the ideas were really good, but I especially thought the one, number 5, people with poor to fair credit score who want to improve their credit. They could work on how to get it approved, you know, because people don't know that, well, you know, you're going out, if you're trying to, say you're trying to buy something and they review your credit score, it goes down just because they review it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So that one particularly, but I thought all 5 are good ideas.
I like the homeowners with equity in their home.
Tell me about that.
Having equity and figuring out how to invest it or pull a little bit to maybe, do something to increase the value of your home.
Any other thoughts on this?
I like the homeowners one because, like, for me, I'm a homeowner and I had equity in my house. I just didn't have the credit score to go get an equity loan out of it to pay off everything. So if they could do something to help, you know, say, look, you have equity, like we can do something like that. That's kind of appealing to me as a homeowner, that, you know, it's better than taking out another loan for something else, but I've already got X amount of money in my house.
Yeah.
I liked everything except for the 10,000. I thought, you know, maybe you can do a little bit lower, maybe 5,000, because you may have younger people that may have more debt, you know. Older folks probably would have 10,000 or more where you may need some help, but, you know, millennials.
Okay.
Help them get started early.
I like bullet 3.
Pardon me?
I like bullet 3.
The people with good
That would be
credit?
Great, that was me.
Okay.
I think that, I haven't seen that anywhere else advertised. So,
Can you all kind of, does one of these 5 bullets, does at least one describe each of you? Or is there anyone who's like, no, I'm not being described there? Y'all identify with at least one? I'm curious, so these 5 bullet points here, right? So these 5 bullet points describe 5 potential financial scenarios an individual could be in. You could be in one of them, you could be in 3 of them, right? But the idea is that you could be a customer of Freedom's in the future if you identify as at least one of those 5. And Freedom, you'll notice, is referring to people who are at least one of these 5. Freedom's referring to those people as everyday Americans. What do you think about that term?
I prefer families, or Americans. I think it's really, there are individuals, but I think family's important somewhere in here, this statement.
Okay.
I don't see anything wrong with it.
I circled it because for me, everyday American to me resonates with people that are, like you said, the millennial, my generation, that's,
You're a millennial?
I'm a millennial.
Oh,
But it's like the everyday, like the working class people. It's not just for somebody that's down on their luck, struggling, living in a slum. They're not trying to scam you. They're trying to appeal to a mass audience versus, hey, it's, late night TV and you're feeling depressed, debt got you down, freedom debt relief. It's more the, hey, I've got these issues, like we have products that could help. So I circled it, so I thought it was a good thing because it's appealing more to a general population.
Okay. Is there, so again, if you all told me that you identify with at least one of these bullets. So if Freedom were to refer to you as an everyday American, would you all agree with that? Are you an everyday American?
Sure.
Especially considering that most Americans have at least 35,000 in debt. Like more people have that debt than don't. So,
All right, let's take a look at the second page. So this second page, again, just like the first time, please read it, circle what you like, cross out what you don't. This is gonna tell you a little bit about the products, services, and solutions that this future Freedom could offer.
are you going to keep these?
You're going to.
Oh.
okay.
Is that what those were?
No,
Up there?
no, there are no Cheetos
Oh,
up there.
darn.
Isaac may have some in his car.
Did you bring some, Isaac, for us?
No, Aiden.
All right, so what do we think about this second page of additional information?
I really like number 3 and 4.
Mortgage and home
Mortgage, home
equity
equity.
and the credit score improvement?
Mhm.
Tell me about that.
Well, a lot of times when you go through Freedom, that your credit score's so trashed that you don't have an option to get help from anywhere. And if you've worked with them and you've paid them for 2 or 3 years without missing a payment, and they could offer you, like an unsecured installment loan or a secured credit card or something like that, that can help you a lot. And they've already worked with you for several years, so they know you're gonna pay it. And then also if they can help you maybe get a hold of some of the equity in your home.
Okay. Others, what do we think about this second page, telling you more about this future state of freedom?
Like multiple uses of the word education,
Tell me about that.
especially particularly the ongoing education, because someone like me, I feel like I'm still susceptible to making mistakes because I don't even know what equity is. Like, so I just feel like getting more information, whether it pertains to me or whether it's something that could happen in the future or even what other people are dealing with, I like that because it can help prepare me.
Yeah, I like the education too, because I'm still confused about secured loan versus the unsecured loan.
Confused, like in terms of what it is, or okay.
I understand, equity and all that, but there are some questions that I have. What I do like, the best one that I like is the one that says, mortgage and home equity solutions. If you own your own home, we help you some of your equity consolidate, pay off your debt at a more affordable overall rate. I got my home loan through Quicken Loans, and I guess they called it Rocket, whatever, because it's fast. And then afterwards, I get a letter saying FHA took over the loan, but I could still work with Rocket to make my payments and everything. Nothing else has changed. So I had a guy call and say, why don't we just consolidate your debt, because I don't have too much left. And now that they're offering longer rates, longer terms to pay off your debt, you could just tie your belt tight for like 6 months and have 0% interest. But they don't tell you up front what it's gonna cost you. Then they send you the letter, sign here, and then you look and you're like, points, interest, really? You promised me if I kept up my payments without being late at all, which I did automatic payments for 2 years, that you'd lower my rate, my interest rate. Because of my former bankruptcy, they made it higher. I said, you haven't even complied with that yet. Oh, that's because the interest rates rose. We have no control over that. Okay, well, where's my reward?
Sure.
And then it's gonna cost you 3,000 in points.
So let's get back to this page here.
Okay, bottom line is, they're more, where they say more affordable overall rate. Affordable,
Got it.
more affordable than who? Than the banks?
Other thoughts, comments, likes, dislikes on the second page?
I like the better, budgeting, saving tools to help you better manage your money.
I felt like it was I don't know, I feel like it's a more complete snapshot of somebody's real financial situation and not just what your credit card debt is. Because if you took somebody's overall financial situation, mortgage, personal consolidation loans, debt settlement, there's a lot of stuff that if you took an entire snapshot of Joe Bob off the streets financial situation, they may have a house and they own a car and this stuff, but credit card debt is this, but they have all this equity, and looking at it, they could say, look, like we could do X, Y, Z, we have this program, we have that program, but we can combine it all in, instead of just going, well, we took care of your credit cards now, and you're sitting there with all this equity and all this other stuff that they could have borrowed from or dealt with and helped you in a better way without screwing up your credit or having to wait 10 months to start negotiations.
All right, so now the last page, this is gonna tell you a little bit more information about this potential future freedom. It's just like last time, read it, circle what's appealing, cross out what's not, and then we'll talk about it. Alright, so this third page, talk to me about this kind of overall, what do we think? I'm curious, what if anything popped either positively or negatively?
Like the human approach.
What about it? What do you like about it?
It just takes the sales aspect out of it, I think. Treat you with respect and empathy and understanding, kind of feel where you're coming from financially.
Okay.
I like the no matter what your situation, I think that ties into the everyday American.
Then, no matter your situation.
Yeah.
I like the third one, always moving you forward,
Because,
because you don't wanna go backwards. You wanna, no, you know, once you get going, you wanna keep going. They've given you a basis to start it, and you wanna be able to keep building your credit score, keep learning about managing it, and keep on track with where you're going and what you're doing.
Yeah. It all sounds good. We leave you financially smarter. That's a good little catchphrase.
so then, going back now to all three of these pieces of paper, right? So page 1, page 2, and page 3. All three of these together describe this potential kind of freedom in the future. What do you think about that company?
If it's true, it's great.
Yeah.
Potential to help a lot of people.
You're a one-stop shop.
Yeah, I like
There-
to customize a plan that
Offering,
fits
yeah.
yours.
Yeah, third,
I like the ongoing education portion of it, and it kind of encompasses just about any situation and would have a solution for that situation, not just a we only deal with.
I would actually be willing to talk to, you know, if I had a problem or something in any of these areas, because of the success I've had for them, I already have a trust in them. So I'd be more inclined to take advice and to, you know, move forward with that company because of, you know, overall really good experience.
Okay. Any concerns? Would you have any concerns about this future description, or this possible future description of freedom?
I would, cause when I, had questions about the program, I would probably, after the fourth person, I would get somebody who was actually qualified to answer my questions. The first three didn't know what they were talking about, and they just didn't understand. And so my issue would be them finding qualified people to actually be able to handle all of these things, cause some of the people they have now, when you call the you know, main phone number to ask questions, they don't have a clue what they're talking about. Or I actually believe them, and I call back because I have one more question, and then the next person goes, oh no, what that first person told you wasn't true. So I've actually thought they were some of them were qualified until I call back, and then I call back, and I mean, I have to say, probably every fourth time I got a really great person, usually in the mornings, just in case anyone knows. People who work in the mornings are great. But anytime afternoon, it was bad. It seemed like to resonate with me. If I waited till after work to call, like on my way home, forget it. But if I called on my way to work, I was apt to get somebody who
Okay.
knew what they were talking about.
You get college students in the afternoon.
I think it almost, to me, I'd be hesitant because it almost sounds too good to be true.
Yep.
What about it sounds too good to be true?
It just, for me, like I said earlier, it's all encompassing outlook on my financial. Like and knowing that somebody's qualified to take a look at this, like, it's almost like saying, here's some magic beans, and go grow a beanstalk, and you're like, well, I bought magic beans, what a joke, you throw them out your window, and then all of a sudden, you know, you wake up in the morning and it's good, but like, for me, if this truly came to fruition, I would be, you know, like, if I saw that, I'd be, okay, what's the catch? Where,
Yeah.
you know, how are they, you know, like, it's one of those that, I don't know, being in the financial situation I've been in, it's kind of too good to be too true to throw my, you know, like, if I was where I was at back then, I would be like, that sounds a little fishy to me.
A lot of it sounds, there's no part of it that says there are some people we cannot help, or there is a small portion of, you know, our target audience that we may not be able to assist in changing, you know, where you're at, more realistic. And this is kind of, almost overselling.
Okay.
Yeah, 'cause some of those people, like, I think it's Cricket, they have offer free financial counseling. And then if they see in areas that you may need help, they refer you to an expert in that field. I have seen those companies before, so nothing here says anything about their credibility to do the things they say they're gonna do, which I'm sure that's another 3 pages. We're not looking at today.
So here's what we're gonna do now. I want you to keep this description of freedom in your mind, right? So these 3 pages. So this potential future state of freedom, this is what I want us to talk about. And what I have, excuse me, what I have is 5 ways in which freedom could try to succinctly describe themselves to you. And when I say describe themselves, it's describe this potential future state. So keep this description in your mind. I've got 5 ways that they could try to describe this exact same thing. So just like last time, we're gonna go through these one at a time. I want you to read them, I want you to circle what's appealing, cross out what's not, and then we'll talk about it. We're gonna start with D. Alright, so D, what do we think?
I think it's too vague. It doesn't really tell me anything they're gonna do.
Yeah, what is this thrive in your finances and in your life? What does that mean?
How do you interpret that?
When I look at this, yeah, it does sound like a crocker, like a selling tool, you know what I mean? It doesn't sound like anything that would make me jump out and say, yeah, I'm interested.
Okay. Other thoughts on D?
It sounds
Oh,
more
thank
like
you.
they wanna be financial advisors long-term, cause the keep going portion of it, like, that means they want to be involved presumably with my future, like, in general.
How do you feel about that?
I mean, I feel like at a point, I probably wouldn't need them, I would hope. And I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that.
I crossed out the word give in the second line.
We give you?
Yeah, because it's like they're, I don't know, I'm weird about, like, if they're giving me it says you can get the help and guidance, so they're helping me and training me, they're not giving me the confidence, they're helping and teaching me to have the confidence. Because the confidence is there, it's just, it hasn't been open. When to me, when you use a word like we give, it's like, here's your confidence. Yes, and like I don't like that in a statement, is we give you this.
That's
I
fair.
didn't really like the trusted expert.
What about trusted expert?
So freedom is a trusted expert partner. To me, it's kind of overselling. It's like if you're coming to a company or you're looking for assistance, financial assistance, you're already confident in knowing that they're gonna help you do it, and you don't need to hear it. And we're just gonna sell you this, and we're just trusted, we're experts. You have to feel that already in order to wanna pick up.
Gotcha. Anything else I should know about D? Let's take a look at the next one. So, just like last time, read it, circle what's appealing, cross out what's not. The next one we're gonna take a look at is C.
Thank you.
Alright, so C, what do we think about this one?
I immediately circled simple and effective.
What about that kind of popped out to you?
Just, I think maybe because of my age and just how I don't know so much about different things, it being simple and understandable is a good thing. And effective, obviously.
Yeah.
Like, nobody wants anything that's not effective, so.
Okay. Other thoughts on C?
I like the fact that they're giving you tools to do it, so you're not just tossing it into their hands, they're actually giving you the tools to do it. I don't like the second line, cause I think a lot of people give, when they worry less about their money, they get in more trouble.
Okay.
I like the last line, actually.
Of with the third,
The last line, yeah.
customized for you?
Yeah.
Finally getting at them showing or offering, some kind of qualification that they have, that they obviously know, everyone's different.
Uh-huh,
But they have a portfolio
Customized,
that would be customized for you.
yeah.
okay.
And helpful experts, that would be very nice.
The last line makes me feel like it's less boiler room, you know?
Help me understand that.
It makes me feel like instead of where they're at now, where I feel like I'm calling like a call center, and it's just a bunch of people who, like she said earlier, who knows what their qualifications really are. This, to me, like in a business sense, in a like approaching it sense, it seems more approachable as like maybe we have an office in Sacramento, or we have this portfolio of like, look, we deal with these big companies and this is our portfolio, like this is our resume of our people and the years of experience and their backgrounds, their MBAs and their situation, not just, well, hey, we needed 20 call people and they're in a, like the term boiler room where they're sitting in, all in the little cubicles going, freedom, debt relief, one moment, freedom, debt relief, one moment, like.
Get my packet full of lines that I have already waiting for each situation. Yeah, it kind of pops more because if you are somebody who's looking for, you have maybe a little bit more, capital, or I like how I put in there, wealth management solutions. If you're looking for a company to trust with your money, I think this is a little more.
Okay. Anything else I should know on C? Okay. Let's take a look at the next one. The next one we're gonna look at is E. So again, just like last time, read it, circle what's appealing, cross out what's not. All right, what do we think about E?
It's my favorite so far, cause I like, you know, I like being in control. I don't wanna totally turn it over. Some of the other ones kinda seem a little bit like, oh, we'll just do that. But, you know, you have to do it yourself. And, so getting it under control, getting empowered, and having more control over what you're doing as opposed to trusting somebody else to take the control. So, and the proven plan is good, and I like that it's designed for you, cause some people may have a huge, you know, bunch of money that they want, and then some people may be just at the bottom rung starting.
Okay.
I think it kinda sounds like C.
Help, tell me, what do you mean by that?
I mean, when I read C, to me, it kinda says the same thing.
Which is?
You know, you have a customized portfolio, you have experts, you're feeling empowered and in control. I mean, it's, yeah.
I feel like it's kind of like a blinder because they're telling you, oh, you know, we're gonna put you in control of your finances, so here, just give it over to us and we'll manage it all.
So is it believable that they're gonna put you in control of your finances?
No,
How come?
because you are entrusting your situation with your finances with somebody else and they're actually managing what you are going to be doing.
Okay.
So kind of, I mean, if that makes sense.
Other things that popped here, either as a positive or a negative?
I always agree with what Lois was saying about very similar to C, but I don't like the comment more in control, cause I don't know, just if people are, it's assuming they're out of control, where they may not be out of control, they just need some responsible proven plan, or they might need a portfolio, I mean, but they might not be out of control, right? So it's like assuming they're out of control by saying, we're gonna give you more control, and I just think that's a big leap for, I mean, that's not cool.
We're judging you.
I honestly don't feel, I don't like those words myself.
You're out of control.
Exactly.
Those are the two words I think I guess, control and control.
I was kind of on the fence with the last three words, experts who care.
Why do they care?
Yeah, and exactly, was why, like, thinking back at it, like, anything you're ever taught about, like, financial products or you see on TV, like, it's money. Like, why is anybody in business? It's money. You know, and to me, if you say you have experts who care, you have to demonstrate that you have experts who actually care. If they had just said by experts in their field, and then they created a culture within their, like, I don't know what the culture is at the company because I don't work there, so you can't tell me that they care when I just get somebody on the phone and they sound like they care, but you know what, they hang up and they go, oh, this guy, he was such a jerk. You know, I don't know if they really care, or, you know, what's their bottom line, or
Yeah,
they
and I get that you don't know, but I guess if you were gonna talk to someone and you had your choice of talking to someone who cares or doesn't care, who would you choose to talk to?
Depends on what I'm talking about.
Getting out of debt.
Well, I'd want somebody, I'd want somebody that cares, but how do you demonstrate that they care?
How would you want them to demonstrate that they?
I would want them to look at my stuff and show empathy and show that they actually, you know, get the random phone call, hey, is everything going all right? Anything changed in your situation? And thinking of the hypothetical 1, 2, 3, like, it seems like they wanna set up a lot of programs, but it's also, to me, sounds very techy. Like, I'm gonna get you an app for your phone, and I'm gonna put a dashboard, and somebody else will manage stuff, and then it's kind of off-put, and then you say, well, it's gonna be managed by experts who care.
Yeah,
So-
it's more about experts who are honest. If you know they're honest and they can demonstrate that, the care part is automatic, right? I mean, I would, even if somebody acts like they don't care, but they're being honest, I appreciate that more. Like, you
Yeah.
know, it's not my debt, it's your debt, so obviously they can't care about it like I do.
Yeah.
I get that, right? But be honest with me, like, hey, you know, here's the situation. And I did have one person actually, I will say this about Freedom, who was honest and said, this program wasn't for you. You know, and I mean, cause I had him on the phone for like 45 minutes, I wore the guy down, I think, where he finally, by the end, after understanding my complete situation and talking and asking him 100 questions, he's like, I really felt like by the end he cared, cause he was honest, he was like, you know what, this wasn't for you.
I was gonna say.
And he wasn't saying that because he just wanted me to get off the phone, because then he did give me some options that don't make freedom money, but that could help me. But it took me, I mean, it took a lot to get there, right?
Gotcha. Yep.
But honestly, I more appreciate that he was honest than if he cared.
See,
Alright, let's take a look at the next one. The next one is A.
I don't make them, my fault.
Oh, did I not give you one?
I just took a pass, sorry. I was excited to read.
Air.
Worked on me.
Alright, so A. Let's talk about this one. What do we think?
Well, I like this one because I'm all about moving on. So, you know, get past it, move on, go on with your life, get everything under control, get good peace of mind. So I like that, and I like in the second part where they offer a variety of methods.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know about the proven part. You know, I don't think all our financial situations are the same, so I think I wouldn't fall for the proven effective financial solutions.
Alright. Other likes, other dislikes, any general thoughts?
I didn't like the knowledgeable experts. As much as on the last one, I said I didn't like the wording of experts who cared. Like, knowledgeable to me is, I don't know, I analyze words in my mind, and when you say knowledgeable, I'm knowledgeable about cars. I'm not an expert about cars. Would you come to me to buy a Ferrari? No, but I can tell you that a Ferrari is a very expensive car, which makes me knowledgeable. Like, knowledgeable expert leads me to believe that you're going back to the boiler room system, and you've got people that can pull up your situation, look at it on a computer, and say, oh, I have knowledge. Like, knowledgeable would be more appropriate if it said knowledgeable of like your personal situation. That way when I call, I'm always talking to Betty Sue. And maybe like 4 or 5 of her counterparts, but they all know my specific situation versus knowledgeable of, oh, they're knowledgeable experts.
I think knowledgeable sounds better than experts.
Other thoughts on A? Likes, dislikes?
You just have knowledge.
I'm just knowledgeable, unlike with you, I don't like knowledgeable because I want to see proven. When it says a variety of proven, then show me some templates, show me some financial scenarios or portfolios that are very similar to mine. And what happened to that one person, 5 years ago?
Okay.
Yeah, it's better, it's maybe better stated, like, you know, we do the research. I mean, we have the research, we have the data, research numbers, something like that to give you the comfort that what their level of knowledge is, or what their level of expertise.
And so what do we think about those first 2 lines, right? So let freedom help you get past financial burdens and move on with your life. Now you can put aside your financial worries and find peace of mind.
I like those.
Yeah, I think it's the same thing they've been saying.
Let freedom help kind of is like, just let it go and we'll take care of it, kind of, like, you don't have to think about it, you don't have to worry about it. But ultimately, that's why you've reached out, because you are worried and you are thinking about your or maybe you're not, maybe you're just looking to help grow your financial situation.
Okay.
I crossed out to put aside your financial worries, because I think that unless you have $100 billion, and even then you still have financial, like, I think it should be something similar to like a manage your financial worries, so that it's not quite like yeah, I want my worries to go away, but I still worry if I've got $20 in my pocket because I've gotta pay cash at the parking garage. You know, there's always gonna be a worry, but I don't want it to be so burdensome that I'm completely, you know, "Woo, no worries."
I think it was what Bryn was saying, like ongoing financial education. You don't want people to just think,
Take
oh,
the
just,
wheel.
yeah, here's your payment, now you don't have to worry about the rest of your finances anymore. It's all taken care of now, what? You really wanna be educated, wanna learn, and you wanna do better. You don't wanna go back to the same situation again.
I
Oh,
guess-
just go to them and they'll take it away from me again.
That's what I was saying when you asked me how that makes me feel. I don't want to need them.
Right.
So, back on that. And that, you know, they're not giving you with that statement, yeah, it's impractical to not worry about your financial situation, even if it's a good one. Like, you gotta maintain that, so, anyway.
So you always worry?
Yeah.
At least to some degree.
So, yeah, I mean,
Some degree, yeah.
as long as you're not losing hair over it and sleep and stuff,
Yeah,
you have to.
That's
Lot-
right.
Lottery winners all worry about their money. I mean, you know,
That's
So-
what helps you save.
yeah.
Alright, the last one we're gonna look at is B.
Did you pick all fives that we all are open? You're like, move on.
We can stay and talk all night long, but I assume you probably wanna get out on time, right?
Yes.
Okay. Alright, so B, let's talk about this one. What do we think about B?
Like the health analogies,
What about them?
financial health and financial wellness. When you think of health and wellness, you think about your internal well-being, you think about your mental state. And I know a lot of people get real stressed out when they're, you know, really far down with their debt and their credit score and all of that, and worrying about how am I gonna change this? How is this, you know, how is the stress gonna help that person get out of debt? It's not. But when they speak about financial health and financial wellness, it kind of gives you more of like a positive outlook.
Okay.
Immediately circle reduce stress and feel more optimistic, because that seems more practical to me. It's not an absolute. So, yeah, I mean, there's gonna be stress always,
It
and
says reduce and not stress-free.
Right.
Right. Okay.
yeah,
And that's what Brent was saying, right? It's always gonna be there at least some.
Yeah. to an extent, and so I think it's more practical.
In every phase,
It's not
because everybody's in different stages of their
not
financial.
so sugar coated in La La Land.
I circled the whole thing. I heard you kind of giggle, but to me, this was the one that resonated the most.
Because,
The wording, it feels more like, this would be like with the experts who care, like this, the wording of how they did this is less sterile than before, where it was like experts who care. And it because it's not giving you absolutes, but it's saying, look, we're gonna help you manage stress, we're gonna help you manage this, and not, you're gonna do this, and then we have these experts who really care. It seems more approachable and to me more friendly. Like if I saw an ad, if you turned all these into ads, the one I would respond to the most is B. Because it would be, you know, hey, we have people, we are people, but we're taking care of what we can, and we're gonna help you through all the phases. Like, we're going from debt to now you're rebuilding your debt, your credit, and we have options for now. Hey, we're gonna help you with your retirement stuff. We're gonna, you know, like I don't want to have them, but you know, with this, you kind of want them, because through all phases of your life, you're gonna have a mortgage at some point, hopefully. You know, you're gonna have a retirement, and if they're gonna help me go from debt to when I retire in 30 years and be able to have a successful retirement, then I want a company that I don't have to go and find an investment company, and then I have to find a retirement company to manage all that. If I can stay with one company for 30 years and they can do all this from me being rock bottom to going to, hey, I'm retiring and taking my money and moving to Costa Rica or whatever it is, like that, this one seems more to me that, you know, the realist.
Other thoughts, comments on B?
I think this is the best one also. But
Because,
well, because I like health and wellness, I'm optimistic, and I like proven solutions, so it fits.
anything else I should know about B?
What was that? Oh, yeah, that proven solutions thing, I still have a problem with proven solutions, because like I said, I think everyone's situation, is different, so Freedom offers proven solutions for every phase of your financial life.
I think Freedom offers solutions would have been a better word.
Yeah, proven solutions, for every phase of your financial life.
Okay.
I helpful experts, I want professionals, like you said, that have, I don't want telemarketers, I want professionals.
Alright, so here's what we're gonna do, all 5 of these, right? A, B, C, D, and E. I'm gonna ask each of you individually to go back and take another look at all of them, and then I want you to rank them. So of the 5, I want you to pick the one that you find the most appealing and write a number 1 on it. And then a 2, then a 3, all the way to the one that is the least appealing, you're gonna put a 5 on that one.
Five being the least appealing?
I'm sorry, what's that?
Yes, the five being
5 is the least, yeah. 1 is the most appealing, 5 is the least. And then once you've got them ranked, just put them in that order so you can easily refer back to them. And Jaffa, are you done? Okay, I'm gonna start with you and then we'll go around the table. Here's what I want you to do. Starting with number 1 and ending with number 5, just say the letters.
B, D, C, and A.
I'm sorry, what?
Sorry, C, I was on B.
I've got B
A.
is 1, D is 2, C is 3,
A,
A,
and E.
and C. Okay, perfect. Alright, Isaac, your turn, starting with 1.
B,
Okay?
E, A, D, C.
Bryn?
B, A, E, C, D.
Okay. Lucy?
B, D,
I'm sorry, 2 is D like David?
D
Okay.
is in David, E is an elephant, A is an apple, and C is in cat.
Okay.
B, A, E, D, C.
B, C, A, E, and D.
B, C, D, E, and A.
We've got a winner.
Yeah, we definitely have a winner, right? So B comes to the top. Okay, so B's the winner. I know we just talked about that one. You guys like the analogy to health and being financially healthy. You also like that it's not promising the moon, right? It's just gonna help you reduce stress rather than take away stress, things like that. Anything beyond that that helps me understand why B is just the best of the bunch?
Just what you said.
Kinda makes you feel good when you read it now.
Makes you feel good?
Yeah, when you read it.
What about it's making you feel good?
I don't know, it feels homey.
Be financially healthy.
It gives that level of care, you know, that it's there.
Okay.
And
Improve and the help is what catches your
I
eye.
think using health and wellness, cause that's another thing we stress about so much in our lives, so, touche.
In every phase of your financial life,
Yeah, okay.
and tools and services, I mean, education, tools and services.
Customize.
On the flip side of that, if y'all could pull up C for a moment. So C, for a good number of you, C was one of the least appealing of the bunch. What's the deal with C?
I thought it was kind of flippant, like, I just didn't like the second line. It seems like, don't worry about your money, and it's like, that's how I got in trouble, and
Yeah, okay. Anything else that kind of makes C at the bottom of the bunch?
It's not, I don't know, it doesn't, it's not personal, it's like just produced, you know, sterile.
it just doesn't resonate.
And
And
then-
then trying too hard with the middle line to make it seem personal.
And then how about D? D also was towards the bottom for many of you.
I can say about C, the reason I liked it, I rated it number 2, because it was the first time I saw the portfolio of proven debt wealth management solutions.
Uh-huh,
So it's really the only one of all the 5 that had captured that last line.
okay. And you liked that?
I like that.
I feel like 5 was really aggressive. While I too enjoy control, I feel.
Wait, we're talking about D, right?
D,
Yeah,
Oh, okay, so,
sorry, not number 5, D.
okay.
her fault.
Yeah.
Yeah, my 5. I agree with what, Angelica said, that you don't really get to, I feel like it's false advertising, a little bit.
Okay.
Aggressive and false advertising.
Yeah, thrive in your finances and in your life. Thrive.
I wouldn't say that I'm thriving. I'm on the uprise, but I'm not thriving.
I just thought overall it was just too vague. It just didn't say what they were really gonna do, or where you're going to go with it, or how it's gonna help,
Mhm.
other than an expert partner.
Okay. So,
Reminded me a lot of Kaiser.
D reminded you of Kaiser? What about it?
See, that's their motto, thrive.
Oh, okay. I don't.
Kaiser's motto is thrive?
Mhm.
Yeah, they paid $1.2 million to come up with that word. As
We
their-
paid $1.2 million.
If you're a Kaiser, then you did.
Alright, I'm curious, so I told you that these were all descriptions. What's that?
She wants to know where I work.
These are all descriptions of this potential future state of freedom. Again, kind of flipping back through all 5 of these, I'm curious, which one of these would you say is the closest to describing freedom as you know it today?
Mm.
I'm gonna have to say number 1. I mean, B,
B.
right.
B. Why don't you tell me why you feel like B is the closest to freedom as you
Well,
know it today?
they've negotiated my debt down, so they are helping me improve my overall financial health. And, stop the telephone calls, so reduces the threats, you know, so you feel less stress. And it's proven to work because I'm gonna be out of debt in December.
Okay.
I think A.
Okay, tell me about A. Why do you think A is the closest to how it is today?
It's just, it doesn't, A to me is closest because it doesn't encompass everything that this future freedom debt is encompassing. And they don't do everything that this future company is doing, and so they're just taking debt resolution and financial planning, and they have, like, it seems more of what they're doing right now. They're in an infancy of growth. They've got this product, but they're wanting to move up to this possible theoretical, but it just seems like to me resonates because it's not quite there. There's not a lot, like, they were customized by knowledgeable experts. You know, the guy I talked to when he sold me the thing, he's like, oh, I'm also a client, and I'm like, how are you gonna be managing my money if you're also in debt? Like, yeah, you're knowledgeable.
Yeah, that would've scared me.
You
That was
know the program, like, sign me up, like, and that's, it just kind of, that's why I kind of rank A as 3, because it's not bad, but it's not where it could be. And I think that's where, to me, that's where the company's at right now, it's just there.
Sure. Anyone else have one that they feel like is kind of the best description of freedom as you know it today?
E was for me, and I also ranked it as like a 3.
Okay. Why do you feel like E describes freedom as you know it today?
Because I believe that they provide you a way to get your finances under control, and I do feel more empowered. Maybe not this one. You see the word control
C.
sometimes.
C was the one that I felt described.
C?
I think I skipped between A and E.
Angelica, you said C.
Mhm.
Why C?
The use of simple, effective, enjoy living more, worry less. I mean, it would be great if we could all not worry about financial issues that we have. Then you can take time out of your day and stop worrying and focus on other things and improve your financial outlook.
Yeah.
Those are the words that popped out for me.
So, just remind me, how many of you own your house, or at least like pay a mortgage? Okay, so Bryn, you're renting, right? Okay, so the rest of you all have a mortgage. Isaac, you kind of already started to talk about this, but for the rest of you, did any of you look into trying to use equity in your home to get out of debt?
No,
No.
because I felt like it would be an additional payment, for me, and it would stack. Eventually, my house payment right now is where I would like it to stay. And pulling out more equity was going to add to that debt, and I felt like the pros and cons of it. I researched it a bit. I was gonna have to go through the same process of getting approvals and, income verifications and kind of that forensic, financial forensics that they do on you to approve you. And I was at that point where I had just gone through it with purchasing the home, and I wasn't ready to jump right back into that same boat.
Okay.
And after purchasing the home and some time has gone by, I've done a little research and I found that doing smaller home projects with, a little bit of expenditures that we may have, just, buying a couple supplies here, buying a couple supplies there, and doing it more of a DIY kind of thing. It's helped me because when I do decide to pull any equity, I'm going to invest it in a way, and being able to get the value of my home up was more important to me than pulling money out.
Okay. Others and you said you tried, right? And you didn't qualify for the.
I looked into it, my credit was crap. And that's why I had to go the way I did, because if I could've, I would've got low interest rate for 30 years theoretically. You're running at 6% or 5% or whatever, 3% or whatever it was at the time, and you could take the money out, and instead of making multiple payments to, I've got a mortgage, I've got this, you're just making one to the mortgage, and if I didn't have any credit cards, I'm making one payment and everything else can go where I want it to, and if I needed to pay extra on my mortgage, I could.
Did anyone else look into the possibility of using equity in your home to get out of debt?
Yeah, I did. I could have easily done that, but
How come you didn't?
the salesman talked me out of it. Told me I could be out of this, signing up with Freedom would get me out. The typical was 4 years, but he could probably get me out in 2 to 3. within, 25 to 40% of the debt that I had, and it was gonna be much quicker, save me a lot more money.
Okay.
So I said, okay.
I didn't own my home, so I didn't have.
Okay.
I didn't wanna add debt on top of debt.
Arlene, did you look into it?
No,
Did you know it was a possibility?
yeah, but I didn't want to.
How come?
I didn't want to, same reason, I didn't wanna create more debt. When he gave me the options, 4 years sounded, for a few $100s a month sounded a lot better than adding on to my 30-year
15 years, yeah.
mortgage, yeah.
Give me just 1 minute, I'll be right back. Sorry.
It's coming with the money.
You get it on the way.
Save my whole equity for something more important.
Yeah, I thought about, we purchased our house, under market value, which was amazing, but at the end of the day,
Alright, I wanna thank you all so very much for giving me the opportunity to learn from you. I've really enjoyed talking with you, so thank you so very much. I do have 2 favors to ask you. The first favor is all those papers that I gave you, if you could just make one nice, neat, tidy little stack and just leave them sitting right in front of you. The second favor I have to ask is a really important favor. I have another group that's starting in 6 minutes, and so they're out in the lobby waiting to come in and talk with me. In just a moment, I'm gonna have you head back out to the front, they're gonna ask you to sign out, they have an envelope for you. My favor to ask of you is, once you leave this room, if you could just keep it zipped, I would hate for them to overhear anything you might say. I want them to walk into this room with the same kind of fresh mind like y'all did. Sound good?
I was gonna talk bad about you.
Yeah.
Oh, that Brian.
Yeah, he's a